All right, welcome everyone to this webinar, where we will talk about what is currently probably the fastest and most convenient way to perform SAP data analysis by using Microsoft infrastructure, and why this is what we experience right now. This will be the topic of this webinar and our discussions and demonstration in the next hour. Before we start with the discussions, let's do some housekeeping first and the introduction of today's speakers. So first of all, the housekeeping. At the end of the webinar, we will offer a Q&A session. So please hand in your questions via the Teams feature. You will find it on top. There is an extra button for. This session is also recorded and will be shared alongside with the slides afterwards. And we are also happy to catch up after the webinar if there are any further questions or things that have not been fully answered during the webinar. Let's continue with our introduction of who we are. And DAB is a mainly SAP data analytics software and service company. And this year we celebrated our 20th anniversary. And our headquarters in Deggendorf, which is around about an hour drive from Munich. We are around about 50 employees, and our customers are from different industries and countries. Basically, everyone who uses the core SAP modules can benefit from our solutions, and you see it's really spread it around the industries. We have a public sector, chemistry, production, automotive. So this is completely based on SAP users or designed for SAP users. And also worth mentioning is that we are a strategic partnership with Microsoft, and together we work on bringing our extraction technologies and analytic content into the Microsoft ecosystem. And what you will see today is one of the results of this collaboration. Then I also should introduce us as speakers. My name is Anton. I'm team lead consulting, and with me I have Robert, who is head of product. And interesting fact, we both started around about 10 years ago at DAB and know each other also from our university days. And I remember many years ago in our old office building where we sat desk to desk, we were joking about starting a podcast. So Robert, this is now our time to shine and test our potential, right?
Absolutely. Hi, Anton. Hi, everyone joining this webinar. My name is Robert, and yeah, as Anton mentioned, I was a consultant myself a couple of years ago, but made a transition to product management, and now being the head of product in this company since 2 years, and started all with DAB Nexus, to be honest. And today it's DAB Nexus Loom, our first SaaS product that we will be showing today. And yeah, Anton, if you look at how successful podcasts are at the moment, we probably wouldn't be here today, and our viewers wouldn't be able to enjoy this great webinar. So yeah, maybe let's try to make it like a podcast or more like a interview or dialogue between us, and show to the audience what we're going to talk about and show them today.
Yes, I mean, end of the day, we get paid for talking about stuff. So similar as earning money with podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned we will try to give you a different perspective from my side, consulting and working close with our customers and all the questions they have. And on the other side, Robert from product, who knows the challenges and the visions we have. And this will be the style of this today's webinar, more or less. And let's start with some background on the topic. I mean, we have Microsoft, we have our own product, and we also visited plenty of events and conventions the last couple of weeks and months. And what we see there, you mentioned software as a service, is a very present topic, right? And Microsoft invests also a lot into the infrastructure, into their infrastructure to make it possible to run software software as a service. And their answer to that demand is Microsoft Fabric, which is a big part of the presentation today, as a platform where you can run such things. And this will be a major topic, or the first topic we will start. And on the other hand, DAB, we also want to provide or help the customer with their needs. And our answer to software as a service is Microsoft DAB Nexus Loom. And I mean, you see it a bit from the slide already, and the name we selected I really like. But Robert, can you tell me a bit the backstory on how we came up with the name Loom?
So yeah, you mentioned before Microsoft Fabric. And if you think of a name like of a fabric, what Microsoft does with their product, we will show it after that slide as well, is they're weaving from different kind of data sources, so-called fabric. And in that context, we are thinking, okay, we are building DAB Nexus on top of a fabric, but we are adding our kind of yarn into it, and that's our expertise in SAP data extraction and SAP data analytics. So with us, we are weaving in a yarn of SAP data into the fabric of Microsoft, and for that you are using something called a loom, which is the machine that takes the yarns and stitches it all together.
Yeah, makes totally sense. An interesting fun fact on the names. And yes, as I said, I really like that cooperation of these two products, and also in the naming. And as we now know the two solutions or products we will talk about name perspective wise, let's go a bit more into detail and talk about them. So let's start with Fabric. And I know it's a fairly new naming, at least, but still already quite popular. And it would be interesting to see to ask the audience here how much of experience they have with Fabric already. So we would start a quick survey in Teams, and we'll be happy if you just give us your feedback. So in a second, there should be a survey popping up. Let me check. You received the survey already?
Yes.
Now I see it as well.
Yes.
Okay. To please answer your experience on Fabric would be also interesting for us, and later on we maybe can also share and talk about that result.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy, especially if you scroll through LinkedIn, how much of a content is based on Microsoft Fabric. I know that algorithms are a thing, and since I'm here in Fabric that I get the content, but still in news-wise and what you get a kind of information and talks with clients, definitely Fabric is growing in, I would say, in that the people know that there is something like Fabric. It's getting popular, so yeah, it's a good time for us to be on that train, I would say.
That's true. I mean, you just said it's been a lot of news or chats about Fabric, and I think it would be nice, independently from the results of the survey we just started or launched, just to get your explanation of Fabric, or maybe which parts of the Fabric infrastructure we use for our needs. And from what I know or feel is that Fabric is still relatively new, but the components you will find in there, they are already proven solutions or products. And this is just bringing them together with a new view. So just share, please, your thoughts on Fabric, and what are the, for us, major parts of it.
So maybe just people tend to say in a nutshell, Microsoft Fabric is a software as a service solution that unifies all previous solution in one place when it comes to data analytics and data storage. When you looked at the landscape of Microsoft, when you wanted to do sort of a data analytics, You had Synapse, you had Power BI, you have Data Factory. You have so much of a technology stack available, so it's kind of confusing of what to use. And if you look, I would say, left and right side of Microsoft, you have Snowflake, you have Databricks, and what they do is they do sort of stuff on data lakes. And data lakes is another topic that comes or is relevant for Microsoft Fabric, as the idea of Fabric was, yeah, everyone is speaking of data lakes, but marketing has its own data lake, development has its own data lake, back office has its own data lake. So every single department has its data somewhere stored, but not like in a unified place. And that's why Microsoft called it the one lake. So one lake for all of them, where you actually store your data and where you run your analytics on, where you write it, and not having it like cluttered around the company. And also it moved all of the tooling, all of the technology into one place called Microsoft Fabric. And having not only stuff like lake houses, warehouses in one place, but also all those techniques for data movement, processing, ingestion, transformation, repo building in one place. So you're not switching tools, you're just in one place, you have it all in there from the one lake. And on top of it, they have a very nice secure layer. They're calling it the pure view, where you can actually also control of what kind of data can be used, or departments can use. And yeah, they're evolving it more to what they recently call to a data estate, where you actually manage all of that in one place.
It's interesting. It's more like a kind of toolbox combining all the products Microsoft had and bringing them together and connect them, make them talk to each other, and make it also easier to do all the steps within one application, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now the next question is, how does Loom fit into this picture here? So why we would need Loom to run SAP data analysis?
Well, the cool stuff is that you have all those tools, that you are in the cloud, that you have those functionalities, but with all of that, not everyone is an engineer. So whenever you want to do data extraction from SAP, it's already difficult already. And when it comes to doing those kind of transformation, ingestion, where to store, how to load it, there's a nice certification, DP600, which tells you a bit about the stuff, but to be really doing that kind of stuff, you need to be sort of a developer or have some potential skills in that area as a data engineer. But not every one of us is a data engineer, and not everyone's sitting in the departments like sales or procurement that just want to see some insight data in SAP, want to spend so much time into getting this up and running. So while Microsoft Fabric is quite nice as a tool itself to do all this stuff, DAB Nexus Loom uses the technology and makes it easier for the user to get stuff done on Microsoft Fabric using the technology, but with a more simplified UI that we provide, and with our technology in data extraction and exporting that reports to the user.
So basically the next slide, I think, is explaining it quite well. We have Fabric and we put in our content, our technology in there, right?
That is correct. That's a nice slide because it basically explains what we do. So what we have is below, we have Microsoft Fabric running. As we mentioned, it's excellent in the tools. It has a pipeline capabilities. So whenever you speak of a transformation process, so you have extract, load, transform, or transform and load, you want to do it with a pipeline. After the webinar, you can check out the pipelines, something like on a data factory or pipelines for Fabric. And you will see how difficult this can be if you need to extract 20 tables from SAP and transform them somehow, unify them, merge them. But we are using this pipelining to build up a pipeline that does exactly the thing that we need, or to extract data, transform them, and load them. We store the data in a lakehouse temporarily, and transform the results into a data warehouse and store them using Power BI. And these are the functionalities we use from Fabric. But on top of it, we have DAB Nexus Loom sitting. That's our SaaS solution, where you administer everything of your organization in terms of your workspaces, your users, and what kind of things you want to run on Loom. And in the back, we have some tools running from DAB as well, our SAP connector that extracts the data, and our analytic content that you mentioned, Anton. That's the DAB Analytics Suite, which does have 300 analytics, but we are using more the ideas of the analytics suite in the context of DAB Nexus Loom to provide certain information and insights to the user using Loom.
All right. I mean, you already started to explain it more in the process, but let's maybe really think about if a customer now wants to run it on their own data, what would be the steps, and especially the question on how to connect to the SAP system. This is what we often get asked. Maybe the first question we always hear is how you get our SAP data. And maybe I think the next slide shows the process quite well. Can we just go through that again?
Yeah, absolutely. The connection to the SAP doesn't really change on how we connect with other tools to it. So we have something in place called a RFC function module on the SAP side, which is SAP certified. And also we get a lot of questions. Maybe you heard about it, Anton. Recently, there was a rampage going on by SAP regarding RFC connections, that they are bad and stuff. We actually got a meeting with SAP and got the whole thing recertified, so we are safe on that space. But yeah, still, also for Loom, to be able or to extract the data out of a SAP system in a quick and reliable way, we need the implementation of such a function module. And connection to our SaaS solution, there are some ways to do it. The current most popular way as a setup for the data source SAP is that you configure a subrouter that you can connect from Loom to your SAP. But what we are working on as well is a more, I would say, state-of-the-art solution. Is a small tool called a data gateway. You can imagine like this, that it is installed locally in your network, that pulls the data out of your SAP and sends it to your organization on Loom.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't get too much into detail. It's very technical, but you see, or we see that there are different options, and we have the experience throughout all our 20 years connecting or extracting SAP data. And I think later in the live demo, we will also see a bit of how to configure the connection at least.
Yeah.
The next thing that always comes up, I mean, you mentioned the content analytics suite. What are the use cases we can already solve or provide with Loom? As I think we have not mentioned yet, but this is a MVP, our first product with the main relevant features. So what kind of use cases we have right now available, and what is upcoming in the next on the roadmap already?
Right. So you mentioned before cooperation and collaboration we have with Microsoft together. So to support that, we first of all had the use case of process mining in place. Process mining itself is hard enough. So creating event logs, something we wanted to make it easier. So we offer for the purchase to pay and order to cash processes, final event logs that you can import into, for example, Power Automate process mining to do process mining, obviously also in any other tool. But for this, we have some, I would say, collaboration with Microsoft, which makes it easier. And as I mentioned before, our users are sitting more in the departments which are not that technical, but want to have the fun and insights with SAP data. So we provide currently reports for the procurement and for sales, which has a level of dashboard saying some KPI values of your scope, and then as well some individual reports in the area of that part, like procurement and sales.
Okay, what's coming up next? What are we working right now?
If you think of our analytics, what is the most or best selling one?
Duplicate payments, of course.
Of course. So it's obviously that we are putting this into the AB Nexus Loom, and it just makes sense because running or getting a SaaS solution is so easy because it just runs on a different machine, not on your machine, so you don't need to install things. And setting up everything, getting the data out of SAP, and then just getting it analyzed with Loom makes absolutely sense and is very quick, even compared to our on-premise solution. So therefore, it just makes sense for bringing duplicate payments to Loom. And the cool thing about is, obviously, if you look at the market, AI here, AI there, we are not doing stuff for the purpose of stakeholders to add AI just to have a better valuation of the company. Our goal is to have AI placed there where it just makes sense for the user. And our users are there sitting in front of the results. And what is the problem with duplicate payments usually?
Too many false positive, or you don't want to generate too less results, not going on the risk to lose the potential. So you always have this potential list of duplicates.
That's the thing. You can be very strict with the filters, but then you might lose some potential duplicate payments. And if you're not too strict, then you have a lots of potential duplicate payments. And here we saw potential to use AI. So what we do is that you run duplicate payments, and you will tell by the results which one is a true duplicate payments, a false positive, and with the already with the next run, you will get much less results outputted to you because there's a model behind it that learns from your assessment of the individual records and gets already better with the first or with the next run of the AI duplicate payments.
But I think it's enough speaking just on the slides. I think easiest way is to demonstrate how convenient it is to run the analytics and how easy it is to set up just by jumping into the application. So Robert, I think it's time to just go into the Loom environment and see it in action.
Yeah, sure. In the meantime, you can think of a use case you would be interested in. You saw it already, and maybe think of a scope that I can run the data on.
We will think of something, no worries.
Great. Let me just move here things because everyone knows Teams is putting a bar very inconvenient in the middle. Right. So I'm here in the login. I have an organization, and as you can already see, we have a login with your Microsoft account. So at the back, you don't need to enter any password or username. Once you are having an organization on Loom and you have a user, you can just log in to to any other tool that is SSO capable, and there you are in your environment. So as I mentioned, we try to make it as simple as possible, so we do not have much of clutters in here in terms of menus or settings to do for a user. It's very streamlined. You log in, you have a dashboard. You see spaces, so that's how you organize your work. You have like things you recently checked on or something that was recently updated, some quick links also to the help docs. And if you're an admin, you will have on the bottom left a admin settings. Here, fairly easy. Members you can invite to the application so they can administer the application, or they are a user so they can access it and maybe look at some of the reports. Data sources. Here we have the SAP system connection that I have set up. And as a first-time user of Loom, you have the information here for the RSC function module. So everything is explained in our knowledge base, what needs to be done on the SAP side to implement the function module. And also what you find here is the certifications of the tool of the current version. So if you need to pass that, for example, to IT or your SAP team, they are here available for you. The add-on itself can be downloaded here or via our customer portal. So this is the quickest way for you as a Loom user.
Maybe just from experience, often this is kind of the first thing to consider. Oh, okay, is it possible to implement? But I mean, in our experience of 20 years, we know all the pitfalls of implementing it, and we also assist in implementing. And to be honest, in most of the cases, this is already a very smooth process, especially with the Saint transaction we saw in the documentation. So you just tell your IT, this is what we need, this is documented, and they really just do it. And yeah, it's not a big pain nowadays anymore to implement that RFC module.
Yeah.
And the good thing, it's certified. And as we discussed in the very beginning, that other providers have struggled with extracting the data. And I mean, with the certification we have here, we are a bit more future-proof.
Correct, yes. And as we saw before on the slides of how many clients of ours, big names out there, trusting our solution as well, trusting it on their SAP system to do data extraction and data analytics on a daily basis. If it wouldn't be that good, we wouldn't have those names there. So
that's true.
If the documentation doesn't help, maybe you need such an argumentation for that. Other than that, setting up a connection is quite easy. You will get past some connection details to your data source, so to your SAP system, which you can set up here. Fairly easy, just a couple of things. And also authentication methods. It's quite a popular question if we support not only username and password, but also like a secure network communication with SSO or without SSO. So these things can be configured to make the connection and transfer of data even more secure if you need it.
So it means they don't have to enter the SAP user password anymore. I mean, we know it maybe from other application where you have your dedicated extraction user, let's call it that way, and won't need it anymore. Yeah.
Here you just have to enter it one time for setting up the connection. Here you don't have to. So once this is tested, you will have the status of success. And I tell you what, we are already done with configuration. Nothing more is needed.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's cool. If you compare it to other tools, where they tell you first, well, we need 20 consultants from Ernst & Young to set it up, it's kind of speed way to get data out of SAP. Right. So I switched here to so-called spaces. spaces. What do you think it is?
I can imagine like a folder to manage my authorizations. So it's just different departments, and they should see only their dashboards, their reports.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So usually that's also like a question we get. Data is fine, but democratizing, sometimes they want to do it. So sales wants to look at their sales, and they don't want to have purchasing look at sales data. For that case, not only you can create spaces to organize it, see it as a folder, as you mentioned, but also you have an option to enter users to that space to share it with others. So that's why it makes sense to add users to Loom so they can log in and look at the results that you provide for them, or they create by themselves, so they can get self-sufficient. Self-service is usually also named. And what I did is I also added you as an owner, for example, for the purchasing space. So
thank you.
Once you log in, there you go. You're welcome. Once you log in to the environment, you will be able to access the purchasing space and do stuff in it.
I will try. But I think we will also talk about licensing later. But I think a fact mentioning here will be that there is no limitation, more or less, in users, right? I don't need an extra license for user. I can add to my whole organization if I want.
No. Our goal is to make, or the vision of the company is definitely to make data analytics fundamental. And achieving that means not only to ease the access to SAP data and to insights and results, but also to make it accessible for a broad audience and not for selected users. So using Loom, you can add as many users as you want if you want to provide it at a certain scale to users, that kind of information, and you won't get charged for that.
What about pricing? We will also talk a bit later.
Yeah, once we create a report, we can check the pricing. It's also very transparent. We can have a look at the Azure Marketplace later as well, where you can see the pricing.
Yeah. Okay, you asked me to think about a use case, or?
Yes, what's your use case?
So my use case will be really to run something in procurement, as I think this is something everyone can relate to from the audience. And yeah, we have great content here. We do trainings, we have nice analytics, and I would like to see what kind of reports we have for that.
Oh, I see. So you like shopping?
I like shopping, yeah. I'm my wife, but okay.
Right. So as you can see, I create a new space, or I want to create a new space just to have your certain use case where you report separate from the others. Do you want to or do you want to select a color for your
Give me the one on the very right. The one on the very right. I like the multicolor.
Great choice. So there you go. You get a little celebration for creating your space. And obviously it's empty. Obviously I'm the owner because I created it. But what I can do is I can invite you as a viewer so you can check later on the results.
Thank you.
You're welcome again. Now, in that space, I create a report. That's what we do in Loom. And you can already see, oh, I have all those use cases we talked before in place. Some of our users are definitely, I would say, trained to select their analytics before to get it with their license to their tool. But here in Loom, we say, well, choose what you want and run it. You don't need to spend time on selection first, what you want to run. So it's kind of convenient to just select at the time of when you have certain needs for a report, right?
Yes.
So
the difference between purchase to pay event log and procurement, this is what I think would be worth explaining a bit.
Yeah, Sure, purchase to pay and procurement can be kind of confusing when selecting this. So the aspect of the purchase to pay event log is when you want to do process mining. What you get is an actual event log that has information about the activities, its timestamp, and the case you're looking at. Case is usually like a purchase order item and how it goes through your process within SAP. What we show you here is basically the start and end activities of each individual case. So from best case purchase requisition till the actual clearing of a document, for example. In the procurement report, and also the event log, which you can download and import into your tool. But this is more for those folks that want to do process mining and look at the process. It's also hard to visualize since we have so many repetition of product backlog, for purchasing items and events and stuff. So if you want to do visualization and create dashboards, KPIs, you want to go for the procurement report, as this is the one suitable for those coming from procurement.
Okay, let's talk about the report now.
Sorry?
The report is just bringing the different controls or overviews we have in the whole process, right? It's not demonstrating me the whole event list. It's just showing me an overview and controls.
Yes, that's actually a good explanation. So it has like a view on of your purchasing done within a certain scope, but on top of it, we have some analytics based on that, like some controls, some, for example, views on the vendor, views on the contracts.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Great. Procurement it is. I click on continue.
Okay, and on the right side, I see now what we intend to create, right? In this graph on the right side.
Yeah, on the right side, we have sort of a canvas that visualizes to the user sort of the pipeline that I mentioned before, to get the user a bit used to what happens in the background, and also gives a bit of a feeling of when things start in sequence and what the output is. So at the end, you will get a report. And also, by having those names, you will know what the current stage is, what you're doing. So you see, we have to fill in a source. We are at the step source, and we are selecting a data source.
There's only one to select from.
Yes, as we entered just one connection, we have the S/4HANA system. And what will happen if I click here?
Let's try out.
Surprise, it's on the right side. So you see, we added the source to the canvas, and I know, okay, at a certain step, we will get the data out of this system, right? When do you want this report?
Right now.
Oh, so you're in a hurry. Do you need updates on that?
No, just create it once. I will check it. I don't need a daily update or whatever, weekly update.
If you wanted to have it, it would have been possible. There's kind of options like daily, weekly, and some selections, and you will get also this kind of information here on the right. But now you say, now I don't need updates, so it just tells you it will run now. And we are here now at the final stage to enter some parameters.
Yeah, let's use this calendar year. Just everything that was generated in this year, so January 2024 to day of today.
Day of today, okay.
Or end of the year, it should not make any difference, right?
Shouldn't. Maybe people are living in the future, so you have some future stuff, but let's see. Data can surprise sometimes.
And fiscal year is for the reason of financial data and the shifted fiscal year period next to calendar year.
Yeah, that is correct. for the convenience of the user, we still decided to split those things. When extracting SAP data, there are filtered in different kind of ways, and some tend to use the time period. The financial data usually tend to use a fiscal year as a filter to get data out of the system. And as you mentioned, sometimes it can happen that companies have a different kind of fiscal year as we have it right now. Like 2024 it is, but they have like 2025 already. So you need to shift a bit in the inputs what to represent the actual data from your system. Right. And yeah.
Next one is company codes.
Yes.
Company codes. So this is probably often a thing you need to be prepared before you run the analytics. You need to know which company codes are there. And I know that there is a nice feature, right?
Absolutely correct. Sometimes our clients come prepared with an Excel file containing all those values. But I tell them, well, you don't need that because we already have them here. So you don't need to choose from a list and copy paste those values. We already load those values from that system here for your convenience to choose from.
And I think it would be interesting to understand at what stage this happens. So is this a preloaded list somewhere, or when do we get that information?
At the time you are about to enter those parameters, we extract exactly that needed table, which is T001 for that, from that system and pass that values here into the dropdown for you. So it's not like stored when created that connection to the system, but at the time you need them.
So in the background, there's already an extraction happening.
Yes.
Right now. Okay.
Cool. We're querying those values live. Yeah.
So I can pick now the company code. Let's go with the one you just highlighted already.
This one.
Prepare something on the board game.
So you're done for some fun. One thing that I want to mention is why this feature is very convenient is sometimes company codes are not having like 4 characters, right? So some have like this one, DE2, but the question is, where is the white space? Is it in front? Is it in the back? Because it's important when you enter it, because based on that, it will actually filter the data out of the SAP system. When querying with our solution, those company codes, we already know where it is, and you have the convenience just picking it by the name, and not only by the company code itself, but also with the name connected to it, and without worrying that I entered correct with the white space.
So we are trying to reduce all the potential errors that can happen while creating the analytics or creating the dashboards or reports. Yeah, very convenient. I see you have some default settings here. Oh, that's exactly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
I'm using the default language and currency.
Okay, so probably this is defined in the profile and it's just taking from here. And what we see, it's very limited list of parameters you need to enter. And I think that's clear.
Yeah. So basically because our users tend to set up always the same values. So they want to have data in English, or they extract the text, description text, and for example, the currency always in euro. So I can set up once and use it as default, but if I need to change it, I can change it.
All right, let's start. I want to see the report.
Great. Now, finally, just enter a name. I think you will be happy with that.
That's fine. Everything is in there.
And
procurement, fiscal year.
Here again, you have the overview, now, source, parameters, report, and then we create the report. Here is just the stage where it will tell you, look, the application is not completely free. DAB needs to earn some money at a certain stage. And here is where you get billed by the prices you can see in the marketplace for the report. So once we create this report and it is available for you and visible, so you can click on it and look at the values, we will start the billing. So you get billed every month for the usage of the report. And for that specific report procurement, it will be 250 euros a month. As long as
I don't pay for the platform, for the user, for the connection. It's only per report. So if I need a report, I pay for it. And if I don't need it, I just cancel the subscription.
Correct. I create the report, and then we just wait for the short celebration.
Okay. So
there you go. And now in the back, it will start extracting and transforming the data into result. And once it's done, what you will get, I came prepared today, you will get a report that is finished. And once you click on the finish report, it will load a Power BI. It is embedded. And you will be able to look at the results with some nice visualizations, starting with a dashboard, having all those individual numbers aggregated, showing you purchase data volume, how many purchases were done within your certain scope, how many vendors are involved, used, intercompany, material-wise, what was involved, and also some distribution of order type, item status. So everything that you might want to see at a first glance to have a certain feeling of your data.
Just from my understanding, so we just extracted the data, prepared the dashboard, and the Power BI template is used here. I don't need a Power BI license if I'm correct. It's
correct. We will provide you the view on the Power BI embedded thing, but you do not need to bring any Power BI license for it.
Okay. And the data or the results are stored where?
In our Fabric environment, in a so-called data warehouse.
Okay. And available as long I keep the report running, and if I don't need the report anymore, I can just delete it, and the data will also be gone.
Currently, we store for this one just the transformed data. The extracted data is deleted at the point or at the stage once this transformation was done. We do not store them, and we keep obviously the transformed data as long in the warehouse as long the report exists. Once you delete the report, you won't be billed for that, and the data is deleted completely from the service without any trace.
All right. Looking at the time, let's maybe focus a bit on the report and then continue to the Q&A section. But let's take the time and jump a bit into the report, what kind of controls we have already in there, and show me what is directly available.
So let me just click quickly through it. So obviously in the dashboard, you saw some information already aggregated in the areas of procurement. And then we have some separated views on the report side in terms of vendor development. How was it changed to the prior year and year-over-year changes? What was the business with each individual vendor? And if you have more companies code selected or vendors, you can filter them here and then have a look at that data. Well, our training data here is not that, I would say, exciting, but you can see as well on the map that we have some vendors sitting here, for example, in Asia, China to be more exact, and majorities is sitting in Europe.
And I also have filter capabilities up there.
Correct. So obviously they are interconnected with each other. So whenever you click on a specific vendor, the visualizations gets updated. Same thing for the material, to have a quite nice overview of what kind of material is purchased by material group. And what is, for example, very important for, or very interesting for procurement is the contract part. So just to have a view on what kind of contracts do I even have in the company. And then also to check on what are my top 20 contracted vendors. And more critical is what are my vendors without any contracts. Especially if I have a very high volume with a company, but no contract with them, I need to check if this material that I buy from them is critical for my production. So I want to have a contract to ensure that some quantities are within the contract, so I know that I get those quantities for my production ensured. And also a better price, obviously. I do not need to participate in some price gauging, but rather have a set price for a certain period and more planning of costs, right?
Absolutely.
So I know it looks, sorry, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I see that the benefit from that report is that it's covering different topics around procurement. So you run one report and you think you see everything which is relevant. You don't have individual controls, which you are on maybe in the past. Here you have everything in one view, either for preparing an audit if you're an auditor, or if you're in the procurement department, you're head of procurement, and you see everything in one nice and neat sheet, or different sheets, but in one dashboard. And this is kind of super convenient, I think. And you have it for procurement, we have it also for sales. And if something is not available in there, this is what will come in the future. And we are updating this dashboards, from what I know, regularly and collecting feedbacks right now.
That is absolutely correct. So we have it already running in some of our clients, and we have also some of trials running, and we are gathering from this very good feedback and trying to incorporate this on pages, maybe extend it even more to have some other quite interesting views on the data, and yeah, make it more focused on the departments and check on what will really benefit them using this, what kind of insights are they interested in, and incorporate this into those reports.
All right. I would propose that we continue with the Q&A section as next. And I mean, you see here, or we saw quite well how everything works, how easy the steps are to generate, and how accessible it is. So let's use the last couple minutes to answer some questions, as I saw that there are some popping up here. Yeah.
I just need to mention, because of my position, what you can see here is it looks quite simple, and just a few clicks, just a setup to the SAP connection, and boom, they're done, and you get a simple Power BI report. When I say simple, it's for the user, but technically done everything compared to others and how they provide stuff. I would say it's a major accomplishment to make it that simple. So what you will get using Loom is a very easy, quick way to get the data. And this is basically based on that kind of experience that we have since 20 years with this company when it comes to data extraction and data transformation in the area of SAP.
True. Yeah. You should not forget that behind each of the KPIs, there's a data analytic running. We know which table need to be extracted, how to need to be related. Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you. I think there will be some more questions on the background or how it works, but let's continue with the slides. Thank you for the live demo. I hope everyone enjoyed to see it in action. Just one final word. I mean, we mentioned something on pricing already, but we also should mention that this is completely accessible or available through the marketplace, and this is also most convenient way to get a software nowadays. It's a kind of win-win-win from what I see. For you as a customer, you cannot get there. You don't need to get offers to purchase stuff for the with a purchase document. You order it internally through the IT, and IT also loves probably getting software through the marketplace because it's a streamlined process, and it's easy for us, it's easy for customers, and it's super for Microsoft, so they have such great content on the marketplace as well. Anything to add from your side, Robert, on the marketplace offering? I mean, there's a QR code. You can check it right now. The pricing is listed there. Something to add?
It's fairly easy to get, and since it's SaaS, you can get up and running if you buy it now, maybe even today, if your IT is quick.
Why I'm pushing a bit, because I see there's a very good question in the Q&A. So let's just continue with the Q&A. And there's a question about, does it handle processed, the change data? So how we manage that the changes in the SAP data are reflected in the reports. Is it a fresh download? Is it change data download, or is it a new feature which is also coming up?
So for now, in the back, what it does is it will override the existing set, but coming with the duplicate payments approach, it will have delta capabilities that we already have in other tools, which will create in the back already a delta of that package and just extract the delta depending on what new settings. If you're running a delta, then it's just extracting the gap of 1 day or a week and merging it into the result set and updating as well existing values or adding new ones.
Yeah. So this is something that is covered already, and we do not. So the focus is performance, of course. We don't want to have a bad performance by downloading everything from scratch, right?
Yeah.
Another question will be on the scripts in the background, and especially if the SAP is customized. So I know we know that we have our standardized logic. How could we handle customizations within SAP, adding additional fields, for instance, or changing fields?
Yeah, that's something we come across quite often, and we figured that the customization is not really an issue for our analytics or how we do that, because they're just adding a new information and stuff. We are looking into this, how to incorporate this in the context of Loom, but definitely if you have such things like you want to do your own scripts, you want to modify scripts, you want to incorporate customized data, there's not only DAB Nexus Loom, there's DAB Nexus, which is the heavy duty tool with the same simplicity as DAB Nexus Loom, but with the much more powerful and options that you can do on your SAP data and on our scripts.
Another question will be around different data sources. So next to or additional or combined with SAP, what is the vision here?
Definitely, again, I would rather stick to DAB Nexus, to the on-premise tool. DAB Nexus Loom has the focus to be first on SAP data.
Means the full flexibility we have in our on-premise solution. This is where we can work better or more flexible with. Yeah. Another question on Power BI as a visualization tool. Is there something else? But I think it can be answered that it is completely embedded. You don't need Power BI. So there's no need to think about different visualizations, right? If I mean, the question is, can you hook other BI tools if they're not using Power BI? You don't need Power BI to use Loom.
But you can hook another BI tool if you're using DAB Nexus.
All right. Yeah, and the last question is also on individual scripts, and I think the answer here would be also DAB Nexus as a
yes, correct.
On-premise solution.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody that asked that kind of questions, we have a solution for it. It's just I don't want to say the mother of DAB Nexus Loom, but I would say DAB Nexus itself is that has the most capabilities. And DAB Nexus Loom has the strong focus on the user base in the departments that just want to have a very quick view on their data and don't want to do all this cool stuff around it in terms of writing own analytics, customizing it, adding your own analytics on it or BI tools. So for that, I encourage you to check out maybe some videos, materials on DAB Nexus. But for any other user that see a perfect fit for the departments, DAB Nexus Loom is the tool to go.
Okay. Thank you for the questions. If there's something open, just feel free to reach out to us. 2 announcements before I close the webinar. First one is we mentioned that there is a new use case coming up, the AI duplicate payment analytic. And by answering our feedback questionnaire, which will be shared alongside with the slides and the recording, you can get a chance to test it for free. So we have a limited number of trial versions we will hand out. Probably it will be first come, first serve. So fill in the questionnaire if you're interested in testing Loom on the new content, duplicate payments on your own data, of course. And yeah, by filling out the questionnaire, you will get the chance to get a trial version. And the second announcement is the next webinar, which will be on data products, which is a solid base for a certain topic, in this case, purchase to pay. So you get all the information you need in one huge table, which you use then for your own analytics, for instance, your own dashboards, or for your own AI approaches to identify outliers or your own AI projects you have. And we help you with providing a solid base for this called data products. Also something which is quite around the internet, the term data products. And we have it for many, many years already. And now it is a perfect match. So it will be somewhere in November, very likely. And follow our channels and you will be informed about the date. That's it. Sorry for 3 minutes to be late. And finally, if you have any questions on Loom, just feel free to reach out. You have the contact. And I hope you enjoyed this webinar, a bit different to the other webinars we had in the past. Hope it was nice to follow our conversation and see some on-hands demonstration on Loom. So we are there. If you need something, just contact. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.